Welcome everyone to the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 25 representing San Francisco Bay Area annual Memorial Day service. Just a little deviation from the order of service here. I made a mistake when I actually put it together. So I will begin with the welcome and land acknowledgement. And so as we begin today's service, I want to acknowledge that we hold this service of remembrance and commemoration on Indigenous land. Following the gold rush of 1849 and California becoming a state in 1850, the United States government began the stated process to establish formal relations with tribal communities. The unstated intent of this process was to extinguish indigenous title to land and forcibly move people to areas that were not desired by whites. Throughout 1851 and 1852, three commissioners negotiated with tribes up and down state, creating the alphabet treaties, treaties A through treaties R. Greenlawn Memorial Park in Colma in general sits on the unceded land that was once home of the Ohlone tribes of the Miwokwa, the Ramaytush. It was included in Session Track 247 of Treaty M in 1851, which was designed to limit the indigenous territory to a small parcel of land between Merced and the Tuolumne River. However, the U.S. Senate would fail to ratify these treaties because if Mexico had not originally recognized the indigenous titles to these lands, there was no need for the United States to even enter into the treaties to take the land. As such, the land we stand on today is unceded territory. It is important to understand that both the existence of these treaties and their contents were held in secret until 1905, which meant for over 50 years, the indigenous tribes of California had no right to exist. Additionally, while the U.S. government were negotiating these treaties, the newly formed state of California was passing laws to authorize and pay for the extermination of indigenous people and provide for their enslavement. Today, as we remember those who bravely answered their country's call to service, we should also remember and acknowledge the people indigenous to this land, their culture, their language, and their freedom, all of which were stolen from them. Now, I would call upon our piper, Charlie Martin, for the opening piece, as well as our cadets from the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps Arkansas Division to post the colors. Thank you, Comrade Martin and our Sea Cadets. Next, we have the invitation by our chaplain, Comrade Dennis Edmondson, followed by the U.S. National Anthem. If you're able to, please rise.
Almighty God, as you have gathered your people together this day in all of your remembrance, we give you thanks, all who laid down their lives for our sake. I hope you have gathered for this welcome, Lord, into the peace of your presence. With the memory of their devotion, let it be an example to us, that we, at the last, be faithful unto death, may receive with them the crown of life. To our Lord. Amen.
Next, I'd like to call Comrade Christopher Hoag, our Sergeant at Arms, to read a poem entitled Alone and Far Removed. This will be followed by a poem from one of our Sea Cadet members entitled The Soldier's Place.
Alone, far removed by Audie Murphy. Alone and far removed from earthly care, the noble ruins and lie during here. You were strong men, good men, endowed with youth and much the will to live. I hear no protest from the mute lips. You rest, there is no more to give. So long, my comrades. Sleep ye where ye fell upon the field, but tread softly, please. March for my heart. March on and on. God alone. Soldier's Place by Johanna Flick. A soldier's place is in our hearts, each one a hero for himself. They gave their best, they gave their all, responding bravely to the call. They fought for freedom, truth, and peace, that war and hatred soon might cease. Their courage soft shines, their memories stay. We honor them as we would of them.
Next, I'd like to call upon Comrade Margaret Krieger, our treasurer, for the roll call of remembrance, followed by a moment of silence in the act of remembrance. Please note the response in the act of remembrance in your program.
As we remember together what it cost to think our country, of those of our comrades by sea, by land, and in the air laid down their life for their sovereign and country. Their sacrifices will ever inspire us to labor on, to the end that those who survive and need our aid may be assured of assistance, and of the country in which we live and for which they died may never be sacrifice they made. During the silence, we will remember our fallen comrades, and in particular, those who have passed on since the last gatherings together. Joan Para. Age shall grow not old, as the beasts who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, or the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Next, I'd like to call upon Comrade Martin again for his selection of Amazing Grace. This will be followed by a placing of the wreath by our Sea Cadet Club. Each year, as I try to put together a little reflection for the day, I find myself looking online for a collection of facts or something that is poignant to this particular year in relation to various conflicts in the past. And for the first time, I was lucky enough that as I was looking through, I think it was Wednesday evening, I came across the Disabled American Veterans Organization, who had already posted online the speeches that they would like their representatives to do today across the United States. And as I read through, it captured the kind of thing that I try to put together on my own each year. So I've taken the opportunity to basically use their words for the most part, with a few minor changes. And so it'll be a little bit more coherent than many of my normal ramblings where I'm just coming out with notes and trying to piece together things as well. Memorial Day, that time of year that evokes images of flags waving proudly, solemn ceremonies, and moments of quiet reflection. It's a day etched into our nation's conscience and designated time to remember and honor the men and women from all generations who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. This year, the weight of history feels particularly profound, marked by the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War era and the 80th anniversary of the conclusion of World War II. These milestones offer a powerful lens through which to view the enduring meaning of today. In the spring and summer of 1945, guns fell silent across Europe, Japan, and the Pacific Islands. The echoes of World War II, largest and deadliest conflict in human history, still resonate today. We remember the over 400,000 American lives lost and the nearly 1 million others wounded, not to mention another 21 to 25 million Allied military deaths. In fact, the name that Margaret mentioned today was the last of our surviving World War II veterans in the branch, who passed away earlier this year. Brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, all who stormed beaches, soared through the skies, and faced unimaginable horrors to defend freedom and democracy against tyranny. Their sacrifice in Normandy, Iwo Jima, the Ardennes, and many other places secured a future for generations to come. A future we are privileged to inhabit. The sheer scale of their commitment to the unwavering resolve in the face of overwhelming odds served as a timeless testament to the power of courage and the cost of liberty. This year also marks a poignant anniversary, half-century mark since the official end of the Vietnam War. For many Americans, this conflict remains a complex and often painful chapter in our history. Young men and women who served in Vietnam not only battled the determined enemy, but also navigated a deeply divided home front. Still, they answered their nation's call and endured grueling conditions. Tragically, more than 58,000 Americans lost their lives in the jungles and rice paddies of Southeast Asia. As well, an estimated 400 Canadians who left their homeland to enlist in the U.S. forces, as so many of their American counterparts had done during the early years of World War I and World War II. While these two anniversaries represent distinct conflicts separated by time and circumstance, they are united by a common thread of sacrifice that underpins Memorial Day. Whether fighting in the deserts of North Africa, frozen landscapes of Europe, or the tropical heat of Vietnam, the men and women we honor today shared a common dedication to duty and a willingness to lay down their lives for something greater than themselves. They came from diverse backgrounds with different hopes and dreams, but they were bound by a shared commitment to the ideals that our nation represents. It is vital that we do more than simply acknowledge these anniversaries. We must actively engage with the lessons they offer. World War II reminds us of the fragility of peace and the importance of global cooperation in the face of aggression. The Vietnam War compels us to reflect on the complexities of war and the profound impact that conflict has on those who serve and on their families. Memorial Day is a solemn day remembering those who laid down their lives in service to our country in every conflict. Let us remember the heroic actions those who fought across Europe in World War II and have perished in the Pacific Island hopping campaign. We also remember the soldiers of the Vietnam War, including those of the 1st Cavalry Division who fought in the Tet Offensive and the Marines who held the line at Quai Sal. They embody the highest ideals, courage, and dedication. Their sacrifice and memory continue to inspire us today. As we gather at cemeteries, attend parades, and spend time with loved ones this Memorial Day, we remember the fallen of World War II, Vietnam, as well as all of those who have offered their lives in the service of our country. Let their stories serve as a constant reminder of the preciousness of peace and the enduring value of freedom. Their sacrifice must not be just a memory, it must be a guiding principle, inspiring us to cherish peace, justice, and never forget the true meaning of Memorial Day. Next, I'd like to ask you to stand if you are able for the Canadian and British national anthem. Hang on until we get to the song.
Yeah.
As we come to near the end of the service, I would call upon our chaplain, Dennis Edmondson, again for prayer and note the response printed in your program.
But as Michael mentioned, be on the last verse. God, I come before you those who lay down their lives, freedom and truth. We commend those souls. Pray that we be worthy of their sacrifice. Help us to be faithful to truth to those ideals which they fought and died. May we continue to perpetuate memory of our departed comrades by our service to our country, community, and humanity. And remembering our solemn obligation, if we ever pray, Lord God of hosts, be with us yet.
Lest we forget.
Comrade Evans. As we get ready to close, before I call upon our Piper and cadets once again, I want to thank everyone for coming today. I especially want to thank our Arkansas division of the U.S. Navy Sea Cadet Corps and their instructors and leaders. Again, as I was looking at things throughout the past week, I noted that during World War One and World War II, roughly 10% of the U.S. population chose to serve. When that comes to Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, it's approximately 2%. Today's active service is less than 0.5%. So to see these young men and young women here today, and in all honesty, for every one of the events that we have, really, I have to say it's our hats off to them. We wouldn't be able to do these events without them, and we are incredibly grateful that they have chosen to serve. With that, I'll call upon our Piper to do the final piece and retire the colors.